We not even gonna play like that for no grade. Y'all see them killers in here? Hey, stop playing with my sweaty. Hey, look, I know how y'all coming, sweaty. What's that word, man? It's about 100 glickers in this bitch.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Punching Left with a very special guest, my good friend Gabe. Gabe, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction, where to find you, and then let me ask you a couple questions about that insane video we just saw on screen.
Yeah, of course. Well, my name is Gabriel Victal. I am one of the three hosts of the KGB show on YouTube. Definitely go check it out. We just do a kind of like I wouldn't say it's like Barstool. What kind of podcast? You ever watch H3 growing up? Yeah, well, they're gay and cringe now. So come watch us, all right? Because we're based and we talk about right-wing politics and what's going on in this crazy world that we call America, this crazy country we call America.
Yeah, the H3 really took a turn for the worst. I remember watching him when I was like younger, and it was a lot better. And speaking of things that are just terrible, what was that video we just watched in the intro? I mean, I couldn't understand anything. Gabe, maybe you can translate some of the stuff that they were saying. Do you have any idea?
My dad is darker than me, but my mom is very white. So I don't know how well I can, translate what was just said there. Now there was words on the screen. It said like there was something that said ON. I think it was OFNG. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm just stupid and I should know what that means, but like ONG is like on God, right?
Okay.
Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but I'm assuming like OFNG is like on effing God,
Okay,
but wouldn't the O go before the F?
Yeah,
well,
I
I'm
was
not sure. I mean, they are in school, but they're clearly not learning. They're playing with firearms. Mike, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
They're in school, but it's public school.
Right.
So, I mean, you
Yeah.
can only ask so much. I don't know. I mean, that's way more guns than I used to bring to school, and a lot younger.
Oh my gosh. The unoptical posting right off the bat. Oh my goodness. Federal agents are going to love this. The KGB is going to be after us, and not Gabe's wonderful show. We mean the Secret Service.
The real KGB.
The real KGB.
Before, actually, to clear that up really quick for your viewers, because people have commented like, oh, why are they called the KGB show? My name is Gabe, right? So that's why we have the G. My other friend's name is Caden, and then my other friend's name is Blake. So it's just our initials, and it's also like a play on the 2016 election where they said that it was Russian bots hacking the election for Trump. It's just like a play on that situation as well. So I promise we're not crazy, like, we're not.
Well,
crazy,
you know what, Gabe, you're so likable that even if you were like a Kremlin operative, I would still have you on the show because you're such an enjoyable person. And
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but and clearly you were raised right, unlike many parents in America who raised their kids wrong. Mike, why don't you go to the next slide that we have? And we'll look at the absolute insanity of single parents in America. Now, obviously, this isn't all single parents, but look at this single mother. The caption here says, because this is how single mothers raise their sons. And this is a little boy on what appears to be a stripper pole.
Yeah. It doesn't even seem like he probably knows what it is.
Yeah, to him, it's just a toy. In reality, she's probably getting him prepared to pay for college. Jesus.
I know it's terrible. I mean, it's insane that like this is the type of stuff that you see just before the collapse of civilization. Like this is not signs of a healthy civilization. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. Not at all. Look, there was, so yesterday, I'll probably talk about this more later on if anything were to come up. But yesterday I was at UNT. There was that trans march, and it was really funny because people had megaphones. They were like, "Stand up if you have a father," right? And this is like literally a result of fatherless like families, a fatherless society. You get mothers that throw their child on a stripper pole. Just because these, a lot of women are tugged at their heartstrings and they think that it's like, oh, well, this is actually like loving them to be more socially acceptable or to be more socially accepting of all this crazy satanic stuff.
Right.
They get coerced into it,
Right. And it's insane. Like, could you imagine if there was a father making his like 14, 15, 16-year-old daughter dance on like a stripper pole? People would be like, that's
Oh,
disgusting.
dude,
That's terrible.
CPS would be called on them.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But yet, when a mother does this to her child, and then we're not even talking like a 15-year-old, but like a little like toddler,
Yeah.
all of a sudden this is okay, this is acceptable. I bet no one really heard of this story, no one's seen this until we just brought it up here, because this unfortunately is becoming so common, the sexual exploitation of children in America, that you just can't hear about every story. It's so over, it's done so often that we can't hear every single story.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like, again, this is normalized. Like, why aren't like one of her friends calling her out for this? That she's got her, we'll say a 5-year-old playing on a stripper pole, and again, this is going to be normalized. So this kid's going to think that behavior is normal. This is an acceptable job for his mom to have, or things will change, and he's going to get run into the ground at school because they're going to make fun of him because his mom's a stripper.
Right.
Yeah, this seems like they were digging pretty hard, like not digging pretty hard, but it seems like it was like a retort. I don't. Okay, it went away on my screen. But someone said something about like, why do we need men to lead the country? And it's like, because this is like how single mothers would raise their sons.
What does it say there? Without using the Bible, tell me how men are better equipped to lead women. Yeah, that's funny, and it is a good point. I actually didn't see that at first. I'm glad you brought that up, because we always hear like with abortion, with like the issues of 2-parent households, etc. Oh, you only believe that because you are a Bible believing, Bible thumping Christian. No, there's actually quite a lot of reasons why it's healthy to have a 2-parent household. And go on. Go ahead, Gabe. You looked like you wanted to say something. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna like agree with you and say like everything that you learn like later on, right? You're like, okay, this is objective. Like I know this is true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's in the Bible. Like you didn't even have to read the Bible to know some of these things, but then you look back and it's like in the Bible, right? Like you realize how so many of these things are detrimental to society, and then that thing just happens to be a sin in the Bible. Right. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that the guideline to our lives, like what is objectively true, would actually play a part in like in our society right now, would be a guide, a correct guide, but people reject it.
And people. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I don't think you even have to bring like religion into it to know that teaching your kid to be a pole dancer at 4 years old is probably not a good place to be.
Right, of course.
No, not at all.
And to your point, Gabe, it's like, Christianity, especially like the New Testament, it was being formed and really being like cultivated primarily during the Roman Empire. And a lot of the stuff that America's having problem with, if you look back at like the degeneracy of the Roman Empire, you look at some of the issues they had with multiculturalism, with immigration. I mean, the list goes on with all the similarities between Rome back then and America today. It's actually very telling when you look at the issues they were talking about back then and what is mentioned in the Bible and what we're facing today in America. It's extremely relevant, more relevant, I would say, now than ever in American history that we read our Bibles.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the reason for that is because people stopped, right? Because there was a point where there was, people used to pray in schools, right? You would read your Bible with your family. And now that doesn't happen anymore. When was the last time, and I guess I'd be talking to the viewers here, but when was the last time you like talked to your mom or your dad about like just going to church or something, or about something in the Bible that you read? It's really important that we start doing that more. I've been recently trying to do that with my dad and my mom, and I've asked them more recently to be praying for things, in my life or my friends' lives, because praying is a big thing too. Like you need to be praying.
Exactly. And I think you underlined it, an extremely important point, is that we need to ensure that we have these strong bonds between parents and children, and ensuring that like mothers and fathers in this country are taking an active role in their children's life. And luckily, we see a lot of women, actually, a lot of mothers coming around to the right wing. The majority of at least white women in this country actually voted for Trump, and they're one of the larger demographics who does vote for Trump consistently. And that's very interesting to hear and see. And the media and academia and all these elitist institutions are absolutely freaking out over this. Mike, why don't you bring up our next slide? I think it talks a little bit about this. It is about the mothers. Here's the opinion piece from MSNBC, how right-wing extremists weaponize the idea of motherhood. So like, well, I don't know. What do you think that means, Gabe? Like when we say that's weaponizing extremist views of motherhood.
I wouldn't say that they're correct in the term of weaponizing, but what they are correct in is saying that motherhood is right wing, right? Like actually bearing children is right wing. Protecting children is right wing, and they're right, and they say that like as if it's some terrible, crazy thing, but it's not, right? Like they're right, but they're right in the wrong way, if that makes sense. There's a lot of things that I've realized that the left says, right, and they say it in a condescending way, like it's wrong, but the correct response to it should just be, yeah, no, you're right, but it's good. Like you're stupid because you think that, like, quote unquote parenthood, like birthing children or whatever, like you think that that's right. But I know that only mothers can have children, and there's a way that mothers specifically tend to children, and there's also a different way that fathers specifically tend to children. And it's good, like it's good.
It's so basic, it's so obvious, and that was kind of what I meant to say is, like, when I first see this, what I think immediately is, okay, how are we weaponizing motherhood as like right-wing extremists by saying don't get abortions because that's killing a baby? Being a mother is awesome. It's the most important thing a woman can do. Breathing life to this to earth. I mean, that's amazing. And you should do that. Oh, that's weaponizing motherhood as a right-wing extremist. What? Because I want to like raise birth rates, and I want to have mothers live fulfilled lives in these countries, and have women live these fulfilled lives as being mothers in America. I don't know. It doesn't sound that extreme to me. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the first thing that pops in my head is I wonder how much of this is also like just women leaving the left right now because of how extreme they've gotten, where they see this like transgender issues pushed all the time, where that's always in the spotlight, or these abortion bills that are now really infanticide, where it's abortion up to a month after a kid's born. And if regular, middle of the road women don't agree with that and don't like that policy, like even somebody that is not necessarily pro-life, but when they see that, they're definitely against it. So this is kind of a way to get out ahead of it from all these women leaving the left and saying, well, if I don't agree with that, then maybe I'm right wing.
Right. And it says, like, the little subheading there says, women are playing more of a significant role in right-wing extremist movements than is often acknowledged. So again, like, you're kind of seeing this move of women to the right wing. It's at least certainly white women in America moving more towards the right wing and really carrying Trump in the election. And we've seen in history, people often, I hear right wingers say that we should just like write off women and like women shouldn't have the right to vote and women are dumb and women blah 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 blah. I take a different approach, that I recognize that throughout history you've actually had women block vote for like much more right wing candidates than like the Republican Party is running in America.
Oh yeah,
it's all about it's all about social ability and creating an environment where men are strong enough to lead, and women will see this and respect us and follow our lead. But look at America today. We have the most effeminized men that we've ever had in our history. Truly, we've never had as effeminate men in American history as we do today. And you wonder why women are going off the deep end, because they can provide for themselves. They're independent. They don't look to men as strong leaders. They look to them as weak sissies. And there's some truth in that.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I totally understand like the position of, these women like shouldn't be in politics completely, right? And I get that, right? A woman's first duty should be to be a mother, right? Amen. But there is something to be said that is a very like current idealistic view, right? Maybe this will work in the next 50 years, right? Like maybe we can get to a point like that. But right now, women have the right to vote. And that's not going away anytime soon. So you need to come up with a better solution, dude. Like a lot of people will just sit there and just be like, well, women just shouldn't vote. That's my only thing. And it's like, yeah, like, their voting tendencies are bad, and our country would probably be in a better state if they couldn't. But that's
for
not
them
going away. That's not going away.
It's almost like an obsession of like theory, and they're like these theorists, and all they can do is theorize about things and say things that sound good but have no practical impact. Like, if white women in America vote more conservative than like black men, why aren't you advocating for black people to lose their right to vote? Like, if your goal is just, we just need to win elections, well, repealing the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment would be easier than repealing the 19th if you're trying to win elections. But of course, no one advocates for this because they understand, I'd rather just go down it's more acceptable. I won't get in as much trouble for saying women shouldn't have the right to vote. So for them, it's not about like, and I'm not advocating for that either, by the way, taking anyone's right to vote away. Although we should raise the voting age, in my opinion. Actually, most people should lose the right to vote.
Or should we even vote, like, period?
Yeah, that's a totally different conversation.
Totally.
But to your point, Gabe, I think you're totally right. Like, in saying that we need to focus more on like the practical realities of the situation. Where we can't just get like obsessed with like all these theories and like, well, theoretically, women should just only be in the home, so that's what I'm going to advocate for. Yeah, if that's the end goal, I totally get it. I agree with you that woman's first job is being a mother. I want to promote birth rates. I want to promote families, et cetera, et cetera. But we need to find the most practical way of actually getting to that point. Because if all we do is sit in our own echo chambers, complaining about how bad the world is and complaining about how terrible things are and how we wish it was like this or this or this, well, we don't actually get to that point by just complaining. We need to find a way to practically get to that point. And that's what I'm focused on, is like producing results.
Yeah.
100%. Exactly. Did you have something to say? My bad.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I think a lot of it is the left has spent really since the 60s pushing women out of the home and even to the workplace, and really more to be activists. They see them as tools for political gain. But then, as a lot of women see, like once they end up 30, 35, and now all of a sudden their biological clock's ticking, they want to have kids, and now they can't. That's when they realize that there's a problem, is when it's already too late. I think a lot of this is those lies that are pumped into people from high school and college, where once they get out in the real world, they start to see that what they're told they want isn't what they really want. It isn't what they're programmed to do. Because at a certain extent, that is, all of us are programmed to fit into certain roles. We're built to do certain things.
Right.
Exactly.
And I mean, you can see like traditional societies, like in Syria, for example, like women have the right to vote in Syria. It's still a pretty traditional country, right? There's many countries like this. And it's like, I think that what I want is a more Christian nation. I want a nation that represents my people and protects my people. And I really do not care how we get to that point, as long as we do. And I'm not going to be obsessively and autistically just fixated on one single point to the point where we never produce anything good. If that's all we're going to do is just complain, right?
Yeah.
No, exactly.
And the motherhood issue is extremely important, because parenthood is extremely underrated in America. It's one of the most important things we have. And if you don't raise your child well, you're going to end up with absolutely insane kids who are bringing guns to school, who are becoming strippers or going on OnlyFans. They're going to be groomed by their parents in some cases like that. One story we saw, might go to the next slide. This is another example. Absolutely crazy. Customer angry about her order stabs a 16-year-old girl who's working at Jimmy John's. And I believe that's the stabber there on screen. Gabe, what's your take on this?
Hey, look. I've eaten at Jimmy John's before. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. All right, it's not that good. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to kill a worker for your sandwich was not that good. All right, trust me.
The food's not that great, but it's not worth killing anybody over.
I've been to some fancy restaurants. I've been to some restaurants, for example, where I'm there with like a sibling of mine and they want macaroni and cheese. Restaurant doesn't have any. They'll leave the restaurant. The chef will leave, go to a store, buy mac and cheese, bring it back, and like create it. Even then, you can't get away with stabbing with the waiter. You might be able to hit him or something, but stabbing, that's pretty far. You make a good point, Gabe. It's not that fancy of a place, Jimmy John's.
It's not. Look, the sandwiches aren't like exceptional or anything. Like, I'd maybe understand if you were going to like a Potbelly sandwich place. I don't know if that exists a lot of places. It didn't exist in New Hampshire,
Cincinnati,
that's where I'm originally from, but it exists. Yeah, it exists here in Texas, which is great. If you're going there, maybe, but no, like realistically, like, look, no food is worth it. But I wonder how well that woman, because it seems like it was an older woman, right? She just killed a 16-year-old. It wasn't like she was also a kid.
I think they survived, but yeah, it is an older woman. I think she stabbed the lady twice and she ended up in the hospital. I saw somebody else cover this story yesterday.
Wow.
But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, I mean, and this is, again, stemming from the issue of like bad parenting. It stems from the issue of, there's a plethora of other things that could have contributed. But I mean, I don't know, Gabe, what do you think? What do you think is like the root cause of what happens to a person to make them stab a Jimmy John's employee?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, what would it take to get me to stab the person behind the counter?
Like, look, the only thing, and even then, I don't know if I'd stab them. I'd probably just like, punch them or something. If like the Jimmy John's person on the spot like killed my mom or my friends or something, like maybe I'd get mad enough to try to beat them up. But just because like, oh my goodness, that's like my friend, or that's my parent, that's been caring for me my whole life. But besides that, man, it would I don't know any other thing. But something that I was gonna comment on is I just zoomed in to the photo of her, And she has like the surefire like traits. Look at this, 3 different colors in the hair, right?
Right.
The green is a little hard to see because she is wearing a green shirt. If you look really
I see it.
closely, yeah, if you look really closely, eyebrow piercings and a septum piercing.
Her shirt is bigger than my green screen. It's insane. Look, she's so big.
Yeah, it's the
She
whole.
has a piercing too.
Yeah, she has a septum piercing and she has eyebrow piercings. If you,
Whoa!
I'm zooming in, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's just because I have a good eye, but I'm not sure if this right here is a tattoo. There's something like a mark right here.
Is it a teardrop tattoo?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
She's an Antifa veteran.
And this is a 16-year-old girl too. I know you may be thinking this is some like 30-year-old, woman who's been to prison, and whatever. No, this is like this is like a 10th grader, an 11th grader.
Wait, that's
are you serious?
16-year-old girl, or
isn't it? Wait a minute.
No.
16-year-old girl. Oh no. So this woman is the adult. Okay, and she's
which is even worse.
That's even worse. An adult stabbing a child? I thought this was a kid that was like, I'm mad, I'm gonna stab you. This is a grown woman?
Yeah, and she stabbed the 16-year-old that works at freaking Jimmy John's. She probably put lettuce on her sandwich she wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Who's the victim? I'm gonna look this up right now. You guys are getting a live investigation happening on Punching Left here.
Yeah.
This is the kind of investigative journalists we do.
How does cursing work on this show? Get bleeped?
Yeah, go say whatever you want, Gabe. Go for it.
Well, because I was gonna like impersonate her. It was probably something like how like
you want to do like a back and forth. Okay,
yeah, like there's the traditional like black woman speech, because we were talking about this on one of like the earliest episodes of the KGB show, when there was, I think Caden went to like this march in downtown Dallas. It was like a pride march, and there was like fat black women twerking, and like they all like, damn bitch, you put the lettuce on my sandwich, like, and probably just grabbed like a plastic knife and stabbed her.
Here we go, Gabe. We'll do a reenactment. Okay, here's your sandwich, ma'am. Please, enjoy your day. Please don't hurt me. Here's your sandwich.
Thank you, doll. Grabs the sandwich, unravels it.
Oh.
Bitch, I know you did not. Just
I did what?
Lettuce in my sandwich.
You asked for lettuce.
You did.
It's a lettuce sandwich.
I did not ask for no lettuce. You did. No, you. And then like gets her fat, like just gets over the thing.
Oh yeah, climbing over the counter. It's
I could picture, like, you ever seen the Waffle House, like Crazy Attacks at Waffle House?
Yes, where they like dive over the like bar thing out front.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hey, look, truly prayers go out to the girl, the girl's family. Hopefully she's doing all good. I'd hate for anything worse to happen,
Yeah, and I have a picture here of what appears to be Shrek. She has piercings all down the side of her face. So there's like 2 on her eyebrows, there's 2 on her upper cheekbones. She has, like you said, the septum ring, multicolored hair. I mean, her hair looks like a carpet too. However, she braided it. I mean, I've seen braids before, and this is not the correct way to do it. It looks not great. And she's 45 years old, charged with assault with a deadly weapon, inflicting serious injury
on a 16-year-old.
On a 16-year-old.
That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely insane what's happening in our world today. And I mean, unfortunately, these things are going to happen more and more frequently as social cohesion continues to drop in this country due to multiculturalism, due to the continued assault on middle-class Americans, Christianity, these common values that we have in America of loving our country, loving our people, loving our religion, our faith. All of these things are being ripped apart at the seams. All of these institutions like church, family, police, military, etc., have been completely targeted for attack. And because of all these things, you're going to see a lot more violence towards each other, a lot more hatred towards each other. It's going to be increasingly more and more of a problem. I mean, do you agree with that, Gabe? What do you think?
No, I agree. It's very scary, and I'd like to believe that like this woman will, I don't know, she'll repent or something, right? And she'll really have a face-to-face with God or a heart-to-heart, I guess. I don't know what the right terminology is there, but
she'll get a face-to-face eventually.
Like, this woman turns and hopefully she even like apologizes. Like she comes to the point where she can somehow apologize to this little girl. Because like that was a child, like 16. Like I was 16 2 years ago. I was a child. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually go around stabbing people because I threw tomatoes on my sandwich I didn't want. But
Yeah,
the problem, what's going to happen is it's going to get portrayed to her like it's not her fault, that she wasn't in the wrong. They're going to ignore the fact, she's going to somehow be turned into the victim, that it was this other person made her stab her.
like do we know if the victim is like white or black?
It has to be a white girl because there's nothing at all about the race. But then again, it's a child. Like when you're under 18, they don't release a lot of details, so I don't know. But like,
well, I was gonna say if it's white, they'd make it like, oh, she said something racist, and then make this lady like the next BLM poster child.
Yeah, I know. And is my face all like staticky on your screen, Mike?
Yeah, and actually, I wonder if your internet's going down because you're framey too. That's why I'm not going to like the wide shot of just you.
No problem. You can hear me okay though, right? I mean, we only need audio. My wonderful face can be split into 3 as it is right now. It's just a cool new feature on punching left.
It's kind of like a Picasso.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting how I just opened up Chrome, so I think Google's kind of hacking me right now. The KGB, Mossad, CIA, someone's coming after me right now.
Angry whale of color stabs 16-year-old.
Angry whale of color. That's hilarious.
All right. Okay. And we are back. Sorry for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're going to try that again. And we are back. Sorry for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen. We are officially live again. Little awkward mix up there, but we're good. Sorry about that, Gabe.
No, you're all good.
The audience doesn't know this, but Gabe is the most patient man in the world because there was a problem with our streaming software, and it took us a full hour to resolve this issue. And Gabe was very patiently sitting on the call with us. We're just having discussion. Like, thank God Gabe is a nice guy and coming on the show for free, because if we paid him by the hour, we would have like doubled the rate that we had to pay. It would have been a mix up. It would have been terrible. So thank you again, Gabe, for being such a solid guy.
It's all good. I just met Mike today, but he's a very nice guy. AJ is a nice guy. We had that episode on Slightly Offensive together. And you guys should definitely go check that out, by the way, if you haven't already. All right.
Yes. One of the most viewed episodes of Slightly Offensive. Let's get it to be the #1 episode of Slightly Offensive. How many views does it have? Like 70,000 right now. Let's get it to 100K. Can we get 100K views on what's the episode? Which one is it? Episode
we'll throw a link in the description.
Link in the description.
I understand technology difficulties. I understand the boomer tech moments. So it's all good. I'm just a very patient guy. Won't get mad unless someone was like, unless I like needed something and then they were like, yeah, I got it, and then didn't deliver.
We're just gonna assume it was sabotage.
It happens to the best of us. Technical issues, stabbing people who mix up your order at Jimmy John's. All these things are just common things.
It happens.
So, but even more insane, not quite as insane as the 45-year-old crazy whale of color, is Antifa. Antifa, of course, the #1 terrorist group in America, it seems like, presenting more of a threat to America than even Al-Qaeda or the Taliban or ISIS, and yet we're off there in the Middle East invading these countries, killing them. Really, we should be killing Antifa. That's my official position. We should be gunning them down in the streets. I don't know if Mike and Gabe agree with that. It's a bit of a hot take.
We don't need to be hostile until they're physically hostile with us, but definitely defend yourself if you're ever confronted with Antifa.
I meant the government, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and Antifa's crazy. Look, these people are evil, and they're yesterday when I was at that UNT thing, the transgender concerts, I think it was, Antifa was there, and one of the Antifa members said that he used to be the president of the college Republicans at UNT. Whoa. And he was wearing this shirt. I can actually send you the picture of the shirt after if you want to pop it up during the video.
Yeah, for sure.
It was like, if you get offended by this flag, I'll help you pack. And it was a transgender flag. And it was the most cringe thing I'd ever seen. And he was like, I used to believe what you guys believe. And then I became smart. And I was like, dude, like right now you're telling me that Greg Abbott is like a crazy right-wing extremist, and I'm like, that's not like the best representation of a conservative. Like, why do you think that that's who I'm like sided with? Yeah, crazy.
But that's insane, and I'm glad you brought up the crazy Antifa or transgender event that you went to. It sounds kind of bad when I say that. Yeah, the transgender event that you were at.
Yeah, it was a I went to a transgender event. You know, people
and just tell us a little bit about this transgender event, exactly what it was, and like what your role was there, what you were doing, and things like that. Give us a bit of background.
I was there to celebrate.
Yeah, no, I was just there, you know, being an ally. No, I'm kidding. So the main reason I went was just kind of record stuff, see what was happening. I was there with Red Eagle Politics. He's a great guy, by the way. There was some other people that were there, you know, just doing undercover work. Like Alex Stein was there. He was doing good stuff. There was another Alex there. All great people, just kind of recording, seeing what was happening. And there was street preachers there too, which was pretty epic.
Wow.
They were telling the people to repent, and they were spreading the gospel on the sidewalk. But yeah, we were just there getting footage. And look, these people are insane. Like, you look at what happens at these events, and I think there was such a big prominence there. Is that the correct word? A presence, my bad. There were so many people present there because we were at UNT a little while ago with Jeff Younger, whose son is being transitioned by his ex-wife to be a transgender, right? And you know, he got protested, and there was all those clips that were released from that. I was there cameramanning as well. So I see there was a huge like pushback on campus, and they did a ton of like pro-trans stuff. And then there was a band yesterday that had like transgender members, which the music sucked, by the way. It wasn't good. Like, I can get down to some rock. Like, I like Blink-182. These people sucked. Like, they were awful.
I could not imagine a bunch of transgender people singing like, "Don't hang yourself. It's not that bad. Just dilate a little more."
The names of the songs and some of the lyrics were just scary. And it was like, now I get it. Now I get why these people are like this. And I guess I already understood, but some of them were like rapist dad or like yeah, no, literally. And they were like, oh, like you creep. Like, why are you like harassing me? And then there was one called like queer sex. Like, the name was just queer sex. And they were just like describing having gay sex. And I'm like, bruh, like, why do these kids do this, right? Because these are college students. These are like 18, 22, right?
Yeah.
No, and it goes back to what you were saying before about like this stuff is like in the Bible. Like you don't need to read very far into like Sodom and Gomorrah to be like, oh, the Sodomites, they weren't just like, you know, happy gay couples like men and women, and one was knitting a sweater and the other was the breadwinner, and that was that. No, they were like these gang rapists going through the streets who had problems with sexual assault, who were trying to seduce angels, who were like disgusting individuals. And then you look at the event that you went to where people are singing about like rape and queer sex and stuff that like we can't even repeat on the show. And it's like, wow, it's interesting how like the LGBT, it seems like there's a lot of correlation between that and all this other degenerate activity and promiscuous stuff, and it's all lumped in together. That's interesting.
Yeah, they do seem to latch onto a lot of that kind of stuff. And then, you know, we've really seen an explosion within the LGBTQ whatever community lately of now trying to normalize pedophilia, or at the very least change the rules.
Right.
Well, we saw them all melt down over the Florida bill, calling, you know, the anti-grooming bill, calling it the "Don't Say Gay" bill. I mean, really, I saw somebody put it this way. I think this is really a good way that, like, that bill does not go far enough. Our side should have been portraying it as, you know, wait until they're 8, because that's really all it does. It only protects them till 3rd grade.
Right.
Which it should be like way more extreme. You know, boys talk about this on the KGB show. There's a lot of good stuff that happens, right? And we all celebrate it, right? There was the heartbeat bill in Texas. That's great, right? But that's only a step, right? Don't be cheering for this like small victory when the fight isn't over, right? The goal is to do stuff like Oklahoma, where they're actually punishing women now that get abortions, right? They're punishing them with jail time / the death penalty even. So like this is what we need to get to, right? Because it's murder, right? So when we talk about the whole LGBT issue, right, and pedophilia, right, and you can't teach children until they're 8, great. That's a great first step. Next, let's try something like 16. And next, let's try something like don't do it in schools. Maybe just have your parents talk to you about it. And I understand the whole take where it's like, well, some kids don't have parents or whatever. And I wonder if that's symbolic of anything, right? These children don't have parents. Why? Okay. Yeah. I wonder if it's because that person, the parents had some sexual deviancy or something,
right, of course,
and weren't a coherent family unit, and that's why that child doesn't have parents that can tell them about this stuff.
And if we fostered like a good environment in our nation, and we taught our children right in school, and then we had not this degenerate, disgusting stuff that's pushed in media and Hollywood, etc. I mean, we could have families raised up like they were in the past, like in the 50s and before then, even where yes, there's going to be like freak events where it's like, oh, your parents died in like a car accident or something, and then you have to be adopted or whatever. But even in those cases, right? So first of all, the cases of like neglectful parents, children born out of wedlock to single mothers, things like this, that would all be solved if we educated people to not be promiscuous. For the freak events that happen, like the car accidents or whatever, and you're now orphaned, even in these cases, if we were to foster a strong Christian community, there would be an overwhelming, opening arms in Christian households to let these children in and raise them in a good home and graft them into the family like any others. And you do see this with a lot of Christian families. It's a myth that there's no people who want to adopt. There's more people in America who want to adopt children than there are children who need to be adopted. It's because the process is so difficult that there's still kids in adoption centers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of the intention. They set it up so it's difficult to do. But you touch on something else. A lot of times, like when this behavior gets normalized, it's because they try to make rules that are based around the exception. Like most people should be coming from a 2-parent household. Most households don't have a parent that was killed by a drunk driver or whatever. Right. But as we've normalized like single motherhood and single parenthood, we're over 50% of households now, aren't we, that are raised by us in a single parent household?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the divorce rate is over 50% as well.
Yeah.
That's an absurd number. That is, and here's the thing, right? Like that's something that people need to start critiquing, like that people need to start critiquing, because there's this right-wing like libertarian view of, oh, we can do whatever we want, right? But you look at like why the left has won, and it's because Republicans have supported things like no-fault divorce, which why would you do that, right? And look, I come from this stance where I understand there's people around me that might get mad, right? Both of my parents, my parents got divorced, right? But like no fault divorce shouldn't exist. And if both parents are actually like good parents and are capable of taking care of that child, 50-50 custody should be like that line, even if there is divorce, right? If they decide to go on with like the faulted divorce, I'll use as a term, even if they go on, that like a child needs a mother and a father, right? Like this is just a fact of life. A child needs a mother and a father, and a lot of these mothers will try to like drain the fathers of their money with child support, right? And say, well, you're not like a good enough father, even though these fathers are like fighting to be able to see their children, which is very scary to think, especially as a guy. We're all guys here. We all want kids someday. And the reality is our system, right? The system in America is set up to disenfranchise fathers tremendously, right? So
there's so many different angles that are attacking the institution of family. And I don't know about you, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but I certainly think this is deliberate. I think that there is a conceited effort to attack family, and they do this in any way possible. They'll use the courts, they'll use the police, they'll use media, they'll use Hollywood, they'll use press, they'll use academia, they'll use the schools, they'll do anything they can, use every single lever of power at their disposal just to break family as well as church. These are like the only two right-wing institutions left: church, family. That's it. We lost academia, we lost government, we lost the courts, we lost media, we lost press. All of these things have been lost. And then military and police are out the door as well right now.
Yeah.
We're on the brink of losing those. Family and church are the only two strongholds we have left, and that's why they're being attacked so relentlessly. What are your thoughts?
I think you're exactly right there. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, you're spot on, and something that people don't realize, like this phrase, right? When you said that, I was thinking about the phrase where people say, like, "Oh, well, you give the left an inch and they take a mile," and to an extent, that's true, but the reason that they're taking the mile is because we've given them like all of those inches, right? I don't think that they took an inch and or we gave them an inch and they took a mile automatically, but we just kept giving them inches until it got to a mile, right? We said, well, like we'll put in this law here.
But look at gay marriage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Right. It's not like we gave them gay marriage and all of a sudden they're like wanting pedophilia and transgenderism in children. Right. It was all gradual because we just kept letting them. And right now, I feel like there is a good pushback from the right, from the correct people on the right. Like us, there's the main stream people right now who are pushing back against this. You have people like Tucker that push against this stuff, right? You have people at the Blaze like Elijah that is very good on this kind of issue. And then you have all these people pushing back, which is good, right? But you also have like the Sean Hannitys who adore Caitlyn Jenner, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, look, Sean Hannity, like I don't have any like personal grudge against him, but dude, like, what are you doing? All right, like there's no world where we should be allowing a transgender to be the face and a contributor of Fox News, something that was supposedly right wing, right?
Yeah.
People look at Fox News and they see, okay, well, they're the right wing ones, right?
And like the only right wing ones as well.
Yeah, supposedly, right? But it's not true.
Yeah, they're just controlled opposition. But it's
100%.
It's incrementalism.
Say this on this show.
Say whatever you want. It's fine.
Yeah. Say whatever you want.
But the thing is like you brought up a really interesting point too. Is like, I mean, we were talking about this even before we were live here, but we were saying how there's certain transgender people, and I think you said you met one actually who was like former transgender, and they came out and they're like, hey, I found Christ, I'm repenting of my transgender ways, it's sexually promiscuous, it's not what God intended, yada yada yada. And they gave all these legitimate reasons, and now they are an advocate against transgenderism as a former transgender person. Yeah, that's someone who we should be bringing on our shows and putting a spotlight on. Someone who's unapologetically and currently transgender, saying there's nothing wrong with this, leave me alone, I'm like a libertarian. That's not someone we should be promoting. We should be promoting the first person, not that person.
Yeah, exactly. But the institutions, even the right-wing ones that we believe are good, a lot of them are like Mike said, they're controlled opposition, right? Yeah. And they will not allow the platforming of someone who used to be transgender and came back and realized their sinful ways, or people who, were homosexual and then came to Christ and said, I actually like understand that this is a sin, right? And I mean, there's a ton of other different examples of this. We don't even just need to talk about LGBTQ. We can talk about like just random like porn stars, right? That were sexually promiscuous, right? And they weren't like part of the LGBT community or anything, but they like found Christ and they said, everything I was doing was wrong. My sexual deviance was wrong. Everyone has their sin, right? Everyone has a sin. You know it in your mind right now. The viewers, we all have it in our minds, right? We know what we do that is wrong. And our job is to, try to pray as much as we can and abstain from that, not be prideful of it, which I think that's like the biggest takeaway from all of that, right? If Caitlyn Jenner or Bruce Jenner, however people would like to address it, right? If people want to, Bruce Jenner, if he came out and said, like, I know that this is wrong and I know that this is a sin, and I'm battling every day with it, but it's hard, right? Yeah. I feel like I would probably sympathize with him a lot more.
Of course.
But I can't right now because he's very boastful about like his transgender ways.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what needs to be there, is this willingness to move forward in a Christ-like way and a proper way, a righteous way, a truthful way. But saying, I am transgender, I am a woman, like for Bruce Jenner, for example, not to pick on Bruce. I mean, there's a lot of transgenders out there, obviously, to pick on, but and frankly, I think Bruce is probably maybe one of the more normal ones, that sounds kind of silly.
Normal and transgender don't sound like they belong in the same sentence.
Nevertheless, not to pick on you, Bruce. I know you love the show. I know you're a big time fan, but nevertheless, you know, you look at someone like this and it's like, it is not true. You are not a woman. That is just blatantly untrue. You will never be a woman. It's not a thing. We shouldn't have to humor you. And more importantly, right-wing media outlets shouldn't humor you. We shouldn't say, oh, yeah, you're a woman, or, oh, okay, well, you can think you're a woman and you can come on our shows and you can talk about how you're a woman. And then I'll just say I disagree. And then our views will go through the roof and we'll get great ratings or whatever. It's like, no, we need to be pushing a righteous and truthful message in this country.
No,
well, speaking of transgender women, I hear Trudeau's in hiding again now that there's a trucker rally up there against him.
Oh, wow. Yes, I remember our Canuck friends up north. They scared Trudeau into the bunker back. When was that? Back a few months ago during the giant truckers convoy?
Yeah, about a month ago. Yeah, he packed up his maple syrup and rode his mounted police officers off to wherever the Canadian bunker is. I assume it's in a maple tree. But yeah, there's a freedom rally again this weekend. This is what Antifa was hurling rocks at
Oh yeah,
bullets.
Go back one slide and let's just see the story here. So this was Antifa, and shots were fired after Antifa terrorists attacked the People's Convoy in Portland. And Portland is a total mess. I mean, Portland is a disgusting, terrible mess right now. I don't know, Gabe, have you ever been to Portland? Have you had the dishonor of being near there, Seattle, any of these places?
Have you been to Portland, and did you get your vaccinations after you left?
No, I've never been to Portland. I haven't been to Seattle. I did go on a huge road trip this past summer, and I went to. I don't even remember how many. I think I went through about like 24 states, new states. I think I've been to around 38 states now.
Whoa, but, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah.
Mr. Statewide, I guess. But no, it was really fun, and I saw a lot of different kinds of people, right?
Yeah.
But no, I did not get up there I didn't go that high, in the country, northwest.
I was gonna say that low. I mean, you'd have to be in a pretty low place to be in an area where Antifa is congregating like little cockroaches. What's the word I'm looking for? Infesting the cities.
Yes.
Yeah. Antifa is a parasite. Like they are cancerous. I'm not sure if I can say that. Is that like a bad
go
term?
off? No, you're good.
You can say whatever you want.
Correct. Now you always gotta watch out with what you're saying, because somebody gets the clip from Punch and Left. Oh my goodness.
This whole podcast is a gold mine for snippets, for like right-wing watch or whatever to use against me. So don't worry. There's like such a saturation of bad clips from AJ Wilms that yours will go totally under the radar. And you're right. You're totally right that like Antifa and the people who fund Antifa, frankly, these global elites and these internationalists, they are parasites. And I mean this in the most literal way. They do nothing for this country but take our resources. These internationalists will quite literally take resources from Americans. They'll take tax money from Americans. They'll take whatever they can from you. They'll take your labor. They'll offshore it to foreign bank accounts to other countries, third world countries. They'll put them in China. They'll put them in India. They'll put them in Europe. They'll put them in Africa, anywhere where the government and the American people can't get this money back. And all of our money, all of our labor, all of our blood, sweat, and tears are being extracted from us for the benefit of these internationalists, who then go and spend this money all over the world. They have absolutely no loyalty to America. They may have U.S. birth certificates, they may have U.S. passports, but they're not Americans. They're citizens of whatever city they live in. They're metropolitans. They're internationalists. They live in Berlin today. They live in Paris the next day, and then London, and then Washington, and then L.A. They have no loyalty to any country. They exist to suck the resources out of our nation and other nations and profit only themselves. It's disgusting. And these are the people who are funding Antifa, who are just as much parasites as they are.
Yeah, they use them as a tool. They're useful idiots. They use them to cause chaos and destruction and essentially hold a city hostage like they're a freaking villain out of a Batman comic, until they'll capitulate to whatever it is they want, whether that's defunding the police or tearing down statues or whatever, to I guess some of that's a symbolism and to build them up more. Yeah, I mean, they are used as a weapon by our enemies.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Gabe, on this? Because like I explained that I think one of the main problems are these like globalists. I say internationalists because I think globalist gets overused, and it's so like obscure at this point, and it's like, oh, like the demon worshipping pedophiles. They do exist, but like I think internationalist is a good way to define it, and for the reasons I mentioned. Do you think that these like internationalists, globalists, these kind of elitists are the main problem? Or I've heard a lot of people say, no, like the problem is the American people. They're not willing to fight. What's your perspective? What do you think like the biggest problem is?
I think it's an accumulation of a lot of things, right? You have the typical like normie con. Oh well, like socialism is the biggest problem, right? But then you have like the more like traditional conservative understanding, or the more like nationalist take, I guess, which is no, these are the globalist elites. But more specifically, it's the gay, right? The globalist American elites, right? Or the globalist American empire. They're the ones that are disenfranchising us, right? Because what happens is, I understand like other countries might want to take advantage of us, but they cannot take advantage of us if the big powerhouses in our country were stopping them, right? If they actually cared about me and you, we wouldn't have to worry too much about these other countries messing with us. But like you said as well, like a big part of it is we don't push back, right? Yeah. We have this idea that, well, it'll all just figure itself out in the end. I don't need to do anything.
Or like the libertarian approach.
No, yeah, like the libertarian, like I'm not gonna do.
I'll just do my thing as long as I'm okay. I'll everything else is fine.
No, exactly. And one of the biggest things, it's really like the people who there's us who like, we make this content to spread the word, right? But a lot of the people that are going to subscribe or view these videos like are probably already like right wing to some extent, right? And obviously you can't change minds, but doing like real work, right? Like a lot of these people need to, like us, we need to be working with companies behind the scene and saying, okay, well, how are we going to like spread the message wider in a more effective way? How are we going to get the right people elected? That's another huge thing, which is like, look, we lose like to the globalists because we elected the globalists, right?
Yeah.
We elected the globalists with the R's next to their name, and that shouldn't be happening.
Bush,
like
Clinton.
Oh no, exactly.
It's on both sides, yeah.
The amount of people that I've talked to that have said that they voted for like the right wing, like the Republican, quote unquote, opposition to the actual like America first, like nationalist kind of candidate, right? The amount of people that would vote for like the opposition just because of name recognition is insane, right? It's like that person, their name is just like bigger. Oh, like I know them, so I'm just going to vote for them because they have an R next to their name, and everybody else seems to be voting for them, right? But you really should be voting for the person who wants like your best interest, right? Wants to help you out, help out your community, right? Even if that's like local politics or national politics, right? You really should look into your candidates more extensively than people already do.
And that's something I respect about you too, is something that stood out to me is like, obviously we're content creators. What we're doing is we're trying to get the news out. We're trying to get these stories that don't get covered out in front of people's eyes so that they can understand the current situation we're in. But that's not enough. Like that, we invest a few hours a week or a few hours a day into this. That's not enough. We need to be doing this as a full-time job and expanding our responsibilities past just content creation. I firmly believe that we need to be political activists and also content creators. And these are two different roles and both need to be filled. And that's something that I really like about you, Gabe, is I don't know if you want to talk about this on stream, but you have done a lot of work getting politically involved and looking into local candidates and choosing one to like really help out and support. And you've done massive work in assisting this person. Did you want to go into that?
Yeah, I can, because we've been given permission to talk about it from him. And he was actually on Slightly Offensive a couple of days ago. I'm not sure.
I saw.
But Jeff Younger, he's running here, Texas House District 63. He's an amazing candidate, and he's truly our guy, right? And people have been loving him, showing him a ton of love recently. And they obviously did when his story came out, but he was the one where, his ex-wife was trying to transition their son. But the thing is that that's not his only like topic, right? Like any quote unquote conservative or self-proclaimed conservative can look at that and say, well, that's evil, that's wrong. But he gets all of the right points on everything else as well, right? Like he's super right wing on immigration. He understands the detriment of flooding our country with third world people, with third world migrants. He understands the concept of family, right? And of God. Like he understands the importance of God. So, we need to be electing those kinds of people opposed to someone who just says, oh, well, like I like guns and I have an R next to my name, so vote for me.
Well, and we need to be helping them as well, not simply just voting, of course, but doing what you're doing, Gabe, and like actually helping out on a personal level and doing this, like, all the assistance that you're doing. I don't know the full extent of how much you were involved with this campaign. And I'd be interested in hearing that from you. Like, what do you think more people can be doing to get involved? Do you think it's, I think it's totally appropriate to ask people to like go door knocking, make cold calls, go on a team and volunteer. Like, what has been your experience?
It is, before I add to like my experience, I guess, it is extremely easy. Okay. And a lot of people will say like, oh, but it's like a lot of work. Just go to like you probably have a mayor, right? Just go to them if they're like a Republican or something, or like ask some Republican group at a college nearby who like the representatives near you are. Just look it up online, figure out how to contact them and say, hey, look, like I want to door knock for you, or I want to do calls, right? One huge thing that I want to look into soon, but I'm not currently, is if you can become a precinct chair, like in your district, right? And that is like a huge step forward. Imagine we had just a ton of like right-wing precinct chairs, because the left, they don't care about this like grassroots politics. When was the last time you saw a left-wing candidate knock at your door, right? I doubt it, right? I mean, hello?
No, you're still good. You're here with us, and you're exactly right in the points that you're making.
Call. My bad.
No problem. No, you're still here. Yeah, and you're right that a lot of these precinct chairs too, people don't understand, like they're just not even filled. Like you literally just put your name in and you win, because it's uncontested.
Nobody contests it, and it's super easy to do so. I apologize. I just got
You're fine.
Back 1 sec.
Gabe's like manager his schedule. He's like, hey, you said you're going to be on the show for an hour. It's been like 2.5 hours.
What's
like,
going on?
The least professional show you've ever been on.
It's just a friend who's actually getting baptized.
Congratulations.
So, yes, I called him earlier to congratulate him, but I guess he was doing something. So I'll just call him back after the show. But no, yeah, being a precinct chair, a lot of these seats aren't filled. You can just sign up and they will just give it to you, because that's a seat that like even voters kind of don't even think about, right? So
so getting involved locally, and like I said, a lot of people want to do the content creation, a lot of people want to make content, and I encourage them to do so if that's their gift. But really the most important thing I can say, and I don't know, Gabe, maybe you agree with me on this, is everyone I think has a gift from God, and when you find your gift, you have to use this to serve him. So if your gift is public speaking, if your gift is going out there and publicly speaking and speaking in front of a camera, then make content if you understand the ideas. Maybe your gift is editing, maybe it's graphic design, maybe it's artwork, but you can contribute any one of those things to your local community, to your local right-wing movement, or to, whatever the case is, to your church even. And you should volunteer with all of these different groups.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So Gabe, we are very impressed with all the right-wing advocacy that you are doing, as well as the content creation. Again, KGB is one of my favorite shows, and everyone who's watching Punching Left should also watch it, because it's a fantastic program. Not only Gabe, but also his two co-hosts. I mean, they absolutely carry the show. They have amazing guests on as well who make the show great.
Yes.
And can you tell us where to find your show again, and give yourself like another plug here?
Yeah, KGB, the KGB, or did you have anything else to add, Mike, before?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The KGB show on YouTube and Instagram. I believe we're like working on having a Truth Social. Not sure if we're cleared yet there. And I know we have a Gab, but we don't use it much. But Gab is a great place, it's a great medium that people should go and use. But yeah, follow us on all those fronts. We're actually on Spotify too. So if you want to go to Spotify and listen to our show, be a blind listener, as Elijah calls it.
A blind viewer.
A blind viewer, that's what we call a blind listener. I mean, no, a blind viewer, like Elijah calls it. Definitely go do that. And then my personal Instagram is just Gabe Victal, GABEVICTAL. And I just post every once in a while there. I'm not super active, but
That's great. What's your primary platform? Do you have like a link tree or something, or is like KGB your primary thing? What can we put in the description?
in the description, just the KGB show, YouTube.
Will do. Okay, so link will be down below to follow Gabe and his show with his co-hosts who are also amazing. We might have to invite some of them on. I know you mentioned before Red Eagle Politics. I met him at CPAC. Very cool guy. We have to invite him on too. Our guest list is going to be so long because Gabe knows everyone. Gabe knows John Doyle. He knows like all these people. I don't want to like dox all your connections, but this guy is insanely well connected.
It's I've been doing politics, I guess, for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
I think the 2-year mark was pretty recent because I started in 2020 on TikTok. And I was part of this page called the Republican Hype House on there. And I was able to, get a ton of connections through that. I worked with this organization called Today is America that, I got a good amount of connections from. So, I mean, and like there's like the populist union guys that, I'm friends with a good amount of them. So there's a ton of people on the right wing that, are based. All right. Just know that there's a ton of people out there that are actually fighting the good fight. And you guys should too, not saying that, not you two, I'm talking like you.
Yeah.
Too, go out, do something about it. Don't just sit down and complain about what's happening on CNN.
Absolutely. Well, and I know Gabe, so I pretty much know everyone on right wing politics myself. He's my only connection, but it's the only one I need, I guess. So thank you, Gabe, so much for coming on. We really do appreciate all the work that you've been doing and your dedication to the cause. It is fantastic to see. Mike, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up here?
Yeah, not at the moment. Just know it's great to work with you. We hope to have you back on again. If there's ever anything we can do to help, just let us know. Otherwise, thanks again, everybody. We'll see y'all soon.
Everybody, God bless and have a great day.